opportunities in the food and agri infrastructure sector. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Aashish Kasad.
I'll just press this button down. Okay, perfectly fine. All good, thank you. So very good afternoon, everyone. At the outset, I would like to thank IPGA for inviting me to share my thoughts before this August gathering on a very pertinent topic, opportunity in food and agri-infrastructure. Given that infrastructure plays a vital role in agriculture at every single step, like for the supply of input, sowing of crops, and for the post-harvest management. Every country has a distinct demographic and geographic condition, and accordingly policies by the respective government on agriculture are framed. India has seen a drastic and positive change in the last 1 decade on how agricultural reforms are being structured and implemented under the broader objective of doubling the farmer's income. When we refer to recent policies, mandis are being integrated on an ENAM platform. We are now witnessing use of drones, agri-tech entrepreneurs, gradual focus on natural farming, concept of India digital ecosystem of agriculture, or the IDEA framework, which would lay down the architecture for the federated farmers database. E-commerce and online grocery markets, national e-governance plan in agriculture, that is the NEGPA, wherein funds are released to the states or the union territories for the projects involving use of modern technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, drones, data analytics, blockchain, etc. Farmers being educated through apps and digital platforms. There are indeed plenty of avenues, models, structures to talk about in India's journey to build new agriculture infrastructure. It's interesting to see the transition of India to mechanized farming with focus on productivity, which is now being recognized globally. For example, in a recent report issued by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations on sustainable food cold chains, there are various case studies highlighted on different countries. India featured with the maximum case studies in this report, to be precise, 6 in number. So if one looks from a broader perspective, there are definitely several well-defined policies along with various innovative pilot projects being implemented for developing agriculture infrastructure. At the same time, there's still lots to be done, given the size and demography of India and various associated factors. For instance, India has to continuously increase its food production as it is now overtaking China to become the most populous country in the world. There is a change in consumer preference, which has also got accelerated due to COVID-19 with a focus on healthy lifestyle and intake of fresh produce, climate change, etc. There is a need, therefore, to not only improve the yield, but also to reduce the post-harvest losses, which is critical for each participant in the agriculture ecosystem. The Niti Aayog strategy for New India identifies the lack of adequate and efficient cold chain infrastructure as a critical supply-side bottleneck that leads to massive post-harvest losses, mostly of perishables, estimated at rupees 92,561 crores annually. The uneven geographic distribution of cold chain infrastructure also contributes to regional level disparities. Given that countries worldwide have stringent guidelines for importing food and agriculture products, the probability of exports from India getting rejected increases with the lack of adequate cold chain infrastructure. Further, logistical barriers relating to connectivity also pose supply-side challenges. For instance, Indian national highways, which account for only 2% of the total rail network, carry 40% of all cargo, exemplifying the burden on the existing road network, and potential for congestion, which is detrimental to food and particularly perishable transport. The problem is more acute for farmers having perishable harvests, such as fruits and vegetables. It is also, therefore, an opportunity loss in doubling the farmer's income. The conventional warehouses, especially the decade-old infrastructure, needs upgradation to mitigate environment issues of air pollution due to handling of cargo at goods sheds in the open. As per the recent study conducted by NABARD Consultancy, the post-harvest losses in various commodities continues to be high at around 15% for fruits, 11% for vegetables, and 6.74% for pulses. The percentage would be higher if one examines at specific regions where there is a severe lack of infrastructure, especially in remote areas. So you can see here the pulse post-harvest loss as per both studies is anywhere in the range of 5.65% to 8.41%. This creates a huge demand and opportunity in agriculture infrastructure space, coupled with innovative model on providing value-added services alongside the infrastructure facilities. A classic example of such opportunity arises in warehousing, or rather, we should now aptly call it new age warehousing. No more is the term warehouse being related to a godown located in the outer limits of cities, a structure with four walls stacked haphazardly with inventory from floor to ceiling. Warehousing is now becoming a pivotal part of India's logistics sector, and it's of new age as there are various add-on services which are being provided which benefits and creates opportunities to complete ecosystem. That is the farmer, government, processors, and consumers. For the last several decades, producers base their decisions primarily on immediately selling their produce, resulting in not obtaining fair price due to inadequate warehousing facilities. The trend is now changing as farmers have access to new age warehousing and are now getting more in tune with consumer preferences, industry trends, and other market opportunities, and accordingly decide on the timing of the sale to get remunerative price for their produce. With increase in high-quality production in India alongside record exports, the agricultural warehousing capacity has seen an upward trend. The overall capacity has jumped from 154.82 metric ton in 2019-20 to 166.2 metric ton in 2020-21. This growth is reflected in the fact that the number of warehouses under the Warehousing Development and Regulatory Authority has registered a growth of nearly 30%, with 2,917 warehouses in August 2022, with a capacity of 21.38 metric tons. Within agriculture, a major chunk of the organized warehousing capacity in the country is still being run and managed by the government through public sector undertakings such as the Food Corporation of India, the Central Warehousing Corporation, State Warehousing Corporation, State Marketing Federations, and State Civil Supplies Corporations. Punjab, being the largest producer of grain, is working towards building a massive storage infrastructure with 12.36 metric tons of capacity. Meanwhile, storage facilities are being upgraded with the construction of steel silos in public-private partnership mode. These modern silos will enable better preservation of food grains and safety from loss due to theft and require much less space than the conventional godowns. Construction work on silos aggregating to 1.23 metric tons of capacity has been completed as of July 31, 2022. FCI plans to construct an additional capacity of 11 metric tons at 249 locations across 12 states. These silos will employ the hub and spoke model supported by a total investment of nearly 92 billion rupees. To encourage the warehousing ecosystem, the government has also provided income tax incentives in case of an undertaking deriving profits from the business of processing, preserving, and packaging of fruits, vegetables, or meat and meat products, or poultry, or marine or dairy products, or from the integrated business of handling, storage, and transportation of food grains. Such incentives being 100% of the profits and gains derived from such undertaking for 5 assessment years, and thereafter 25% or 30% if you are a company of the profits and gain derived from the operation of such businesses. Various companies, including startups, have disrupted the warehousing model and are providing innovative business models which are strengthening the agriculture infrastructure ecosystem. For example, Apna Godam. Apna Godam is providing warehousing facilities and online commodity financing to farmers all across India. In addition to this, it facilitates an online platform that facilitates farmers, traders, buyers with online trading in commodities, which helps in better price discovery and providing facilities for smooth marketing of their produce. Sellers don't have access to warehousing facilities and commodity finance since terminals are situated at far-off locations. They sell their commodity immediately post-harvest at lower price and don't get the benefit of price appreciation. They identify closed factories, old sheds, and abandoned buildings near production area and convert them into agriculture. Terminals where the sellers can keep the agri-commodity and avail commodity loan by pledging the stock. And when the prices of the agri-produce are better, then they can sell the stock to the millers on the Apna Godam portal on an as-is-where-is basis. There are similar examples of Arya.ag and Star Agri, but I am told that we are running against time, so we will skip some of those. Another interesting infrastructure development is in the area of the development of multi-story agricultural warehousing. Multi-story warehouses have existed in the Asia-Pacific region for many years, particularly in the more developed countries such as Singapore and Hong Kong, where dense populations and limited land availability have made them a necessity. Some of the successful multi-story facilities in the APAC region include ATL Logistics Center in Hong Kong and many others. And the Indian warehousing market has the potential to shift towards the multi-story warehousing given the constraints of space, especially in metro cities and rising e-commerce sector, so as to be located close to their consumer bases. This can kickstart the demand for tech-enabled multi-story warehousing, which can facilitate maximum land utilization in cities having limited land supply, as well as help companies to reduce the transportation costs and time. And cities such as Bombay, Bengaluru, and Kolkata have the potential for these kind of multi-story warehouses. If I quickly move over to another example, agriculture infrastructure also provides opportunity to use technology and thereby provide high-end warehousing facilities. For example, Infosys helps growers and warehouse operators increase their food availability by preventing post-harvest decay and diseases caused by fungi and insects by tracking warehouse conditions through the use of automation. I'll just quickly touch on the cold storage situation since it is critical. Equally, more than 75% of the cold storage capacity is totally concentrated amongst top 5 states only, which is UP, West Bengal, Gujarat, Punjab, and Andhra. While 73% of the total capacity is suitable for storing single commodity only, 68% of cold storage capacity across India is suitable for storing potato only. And 92% of such units are being used and operated by private players, characterized by unorganized and fragmented industry, unwilling to undertake capacity expansion or invest in modernization of facilities. The cold chain industry in India is therefore still in a developmental stage, making it one of the most promising fields in the cold chain warehousing and in logistics industry. It becomes a critical infrastructure for ensuring the products reach to the end consumer without impacting the quality. Out of the total harvest lost in the country, 35% of the loss arises due to a lack of cold chain facility, and given this importance, the government has provided a 100% tax holiday or a deduction of capital expenditure incurred for setting up cold chain facilities in India. This apart, there is a need to develop standards and protocols along with skilled HR to avoid human errors. And managing cold chain logistics requires trained professionals who are well versed in the process and protocols and have practical experience operating cold chain and transportation equipment. Cold chain infrastructure does get impacted due to frequent power shortages. Appropriate packaging systems along with adequate transportation is a necessity. There has been a huge rush and competition in the food delivery business since COVID, and we see all kinds of business models from 10-minute to 30-minute deliveries. This will be possible only if there's enough distribution systems available at the back end. And this is just a classic example of the different kind of players in the ecosystem today, which can support you in your business. For example, the EcoZen cold storages charges itself completely with just 5 to 6 hours of grid power. So there are various kind of technology-enabled cold storage service providers, and we could talk much more about it, but for the paucity of time right now.
Thank you.
I will not get into the dal mills because your next session is around that. But just very quickly on the government policies, if I may be indulged by it for just another 2 minutes.
Ashish, you were more than over time, so if you
Okay.
could please conclude.
Fair. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Ashish. Sorry about that. We're very, very short of time. May I please request Mr. Paragadre to please step up on stage and present Ashish with a memento. I'm sorry that we don't have enough time for you today, Ashish, but definitely some time. Yeah. And yeah. Can we have the memento, please? Ladies and gentlemen, we are struggling with the what do you call it? I wouldn't say the paucity of time, but the resource of time. And although there's a lot of information that we can get from these podiums, we might have to defer some of that for a later date or on the website.